Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Tuesday, 15th July 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillian Group. Antigua and Barbuda's Attorney General Steadroy Benjamin calls for the region to adopt high-tech approaches in crime fight. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. Attorney General and Public Safety Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Sir Steadroy Benjamin, is urging regional leaders to incorporate high-tech approaches in tackling the scourge of crime. Shanakisha Francis of ABS News reports.
Barbuda's Attorney General, the Honorable Sir Steadroy Benjamin, is calling for a tech-driven shift in crime fighting across the Caribbean. Speaking at the 2025 Caribbean Law Enforcement Leaders Symposium, he urged the region to embrace modern policing tools.
Modern tools must be exploited and used. Technologies like facial recognition, with appropriate legal safeguards, of course, drone surveillance for border patrols, and GIS mapping of crime hotspots can be game changers in our small geographic spaces.
The Attorney General, who is also Public Safety Minister, emphasized that with limited manpower and budgets, the Caribbean must rely on smarter strategies.
We must strengthen intelligence-led policing. In our region, intelligence is our most present resource. Regrettably, we do not have endless manpower or budgets. We must ensure that every operation is driven by precise, timely intelligence. And in this regard, there should be regional intelligence sharing.
With cybercrime and ransomware attacks on the rise, Sir Steadroy also urges regional governments to secure their systems.
We need trained digital forensics labs capable of extracting, preserving, and analyzing digital evidence. From mobile phones seized in gang raids, Mr. Commissioner, to financial data in fraud investigations, Mr. ONDCP.
The AG's remarks set a bold tone for regional cooperation and modernization as law enforcement across the Caribbean faces rising digital and transnational threats.
To protect our communities and preserve the stability essential for economic growth and tourism, we must think and we must act.
Shanakisha Francis, ABS News.
The Interim Regulatory Commission that was commissioned to set up a regional regulatory body for citizenship by investment programs operating in the Eastern Caribbean has made a draft legislation available for public review and feedback until 16th July 2025. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
The PDF draft legislation is available for downloading from the website of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. The proposed Eastern Caribbean Citizenship by Investment Regulatory Authority will have the responsibility of ensuring transparency, accountability, and integrity within the program. According to the Commission headed by Timothy Antoine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the Eastern Caribbean Citizenship by Investment Regulatory Authority will regulate and supervise the industry through the application of uniform law and common standards. Among the many aspects outlined in the draft legislation are sections that address matters such as the conduct of due diligence, interview protocols and requirements, the establishment and management of escrow accounts, audits by competent authorities, the revocation and collection of passports, data security, the relationship protocols for agency stakeholders and countries, as well as several other matters relevant to the effective operation of CBI programs in the 5 OASIS member states, including St. Kitts and Nevis. The establishment of a regional regulatory body is part of a series of actions taken by the CBI operating Eastern Caribbean countries to ensure the programs are highly regulated and transparent while addressing all security concerns. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Almost 5,000 people have been killed in Haiti since October 2024, displacing hundreds of thousands as gang violence has escalated, particularly around the capital Port-au-Prince, according to a UN High Commissioner for Human Rights (OHCHR) report published on Friday last. France 24 English filed this report.
A grim announcement from the UN Human Rights Office as gang violence continues to escalate in Haiti. Between the 1st of October 2024 and the 30th of June this year, the total number of killings across Haiti was 4,864. According to the UN, the capital is now 85% controlled by gangs, which have started to expand beyond central Haiti towards the border of the Dominican Republic. Food insecurity in the country is rampant, and the violence has left aid organizations with no other choice but to scale back operations. More than 1.3 million Haitians have been displaced, and scores have been kidnapped, raped, or trafficked. Many of these human rights violations are committed by gangs, but they're not the only perpetrators, according to the UN. Caught in the middle of this unending horror story are the Haitian people, who are at the mercy of horrific violence by gangs and exposed to human rights violations from the security forces, as well as abuses by the so-called self-defense groups. A UN-backed mission led by Kenyan police arrived in Haiti last year to help tackle the violence. But the mission remains understaffed, with only around 40% of the 2,500 personnel initially pledged. A transitional government council, meanwhile, has so far failed to restore order amid controversies and leadership turnover. It has vowed to inaugurate an elected government by February 2026.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick, in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
In a landmark session last week, Parliament passed the Banking Amendment Bill 2025, introducing sweeping reforms designed to modernize financial regulations and bolster customer protections in St. Lucia. The bill, spearheaded by the Minister of Finance, aims to address gaps in the 2015 Banking Act, while ensuring greater transparency and stability in the sector. Manassas Stanislaus of the DBS News World has more.
During the debate, the finance minister emphasized the need for clarity, stating that the bill ensures consistency in language and intent, particularly in definition key terms like banking business and domestic versus foreign banks. One of the most significant changes prohibits banks from paying dividends during loss-making years, a move the Prime Minister argued would protect depositors.
This is significant because a bank should not be paying dividends if they have a loss. If you're supposed to pay profits, pay out of profits, Mr. Speaker. So if you have a loss, you should not be paying any dividends, Mr. Speaker, because what you're doing is the depositors are the ones who are paying and not the profit that you make from the bank.
The amendment also extends the tenure of external audit firms from 6 to 9 years in response to the growing complexity of financial audits and a shrinking pool of qualified auditors. Meanwhile, New provisions will require banks to justify fees and simplify account openings, addressing long-standing complaints from customers. The minister took aim at excessive bureaucracy, particularly from tourism workers, noting a taxi driver with $1,000 faces endless questions and calling for more flexibility rather than overzealous compliance.
I know we're going to have legislation coming very shortly for the opening of bank accounts. That legislation is, and I want to thank the central bank for ensuring that legislation comes to being very shortly for us to change the difficulty that people have in setting up bank accounts. That will come to a stop, to an end very shortly, Mr. Speaker. The central bank has always been mandated to call the commercial banks to stop this thing about 3 ID cards and use your father, use your godfather to open a bank account, Mr. Speaker.
Opposition members welcomed the reforms but raised additional concerns. The Choiseul Saltibus MP Bradley Felix called for standardized banking fees.
In fact, when the member was talking about certain activities of the bank, I was hoping that maybe I did not see it and there was something about the inclusion of a standardized format among the banks as it relates to the way fees are charged, Mr. Speaker, because we hear as parliamentarians the way you go when you go to banks and some of the charges that are charged, and different banks have different charges, and it's a very concerning matter that has been brought about from our constituents.
Another MP criticized the treatment of politicians' relatives as politically exposed persons, which often leads to unnecessary hurdles.
There is this term, PEP, politically exposed person. Prime Minister indicated that sometimes a little hustler outside the hotels selling T-shirts, selling shells, selling whatever it is to earn a legitimate dollar would go to the bank and is put through all sorts of convoluted procedures to ensure that his money is accepted and placed in the bank. Mr. Speaker, every politician, every one of us, have some relative of us that don't like us and we don't talk to them. Every politician. Yet, those persons are considered PEPs.
The finance minister pledged further action to make banking more accessible, particularly for elderly and low-income customers. According to him, depositors are the true owners of these funds. Banks must never forget that. For the DBS News World, Manasseh Stanislas reporting.
The Bahamas Prime Minister comments on the latest move by the Trump administration in his big, beautiful bill to charge a fee of $250 for temporary visas.
The Prime Minister also at the time commenting on the Trump administration's One Big Beautiful bill, which, among other things, will introduce a mandatory $250 fee on all temporary visa applications, and that includes if you're traveling as a tourist, a student, or for business.
Policy of the United States government, and we do not engage ourselves in policies of other countries. That is their policy. It just does not apply to us alone. It's a policy that impacts all applicants, not just the Bahamas, but other countries.
The Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago called for an investigation into the leak of a confidential document relating to a report of sexual assault made by a junior attorney against a prominent attorney. Candy Hill of TV6 News filed some details.
The Law Association says it condemns the publication and dissemination of the viral complainant's name, image, and details of her statement to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, which are now circulating widely online. The association reminds the public that Section 32 of the Sexual Offences Act, Chapter 1128, makes it a criminal offence to publish or broadcast any information likely to lead to the identification of a complainant in a sexual offences matter. The Law Association points out that the law is clear and it applies equally to traditional media outlets and social media users. It explains that the rationale behind this prohibition is to protect victims of sexual offenses from further trauma, stigma, and public scrutiny. It adds that the unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information not only breaches the law, but also undermines the dignity, privacy, and safety of persons involved. The association states that this troubling incident reflects a broader and increasingly prevalent trend in Trinidad and Tobago, the unauthorized leaking and sharing of police evidence, crime scene footage, witness statements, and other sensitive information that ought to remain in the custody of the appropriate investigative authorities. It warns that this must not become the norm, as the protection of the justice system depends on maintaining the confidentiality of such material until due process is followed. The association urges all citizens, especially users of social media platforms, to refrain from sharing or reposting material that violates the law or causes harm to the individuals involved in this matter. Candy Hill, TV6 News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's a service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.